modern matchmaking trends. Wuhan's umbrella-covered streets. After work in Shanghai's subway, the passengers are predominantly women, except for a man who appears to be around 5 feet 6 inches tall. Matchmaking corners and parks have become a prevailing trend in major Chinese cities, bustling like vibrant markets. In Wuhan, a well-known matchmaking corner stands out, ranking among the top 3 in the city. On one side, you'll find elderly individuals engaged in activities like chess or ballroom dancing, while on the opposite side, parents are consumed with concern over their children's marriage prospects. These parents record their children's particulars on umbrellas and place them by the roadside. If another parent expresses interest, conversations might ensue, or they could connect on WeChat for more in-depth discussions. This matchmaking scene has experienced significant growth, and the street is now lined with apprehensive parents. All will be covered today in China Undercover. If you find our information helpful, please subscribe and turn on the notification. It will help us get more motivation to produce more quality videos. Now back to the news. Glimpse into the life of a well-educated leftover man in China. One of these individuals is a man born in 1983, standing at 5 feet 5 inches tall, holding a postgraduate degree from Wuhan University. He's a deputy department-level civil servant and a teacher at a prestigious Project 211 University in Wuhan. He holds a master's degree from Beijing Normal University and earns an annual income of 200,000 yuan. He has a stable career, owns his own house and car, and possesses favorable conditions. Despite these accomplishments, he is labeled as a leftover man in the city. In the past, he was selective about potential partners, but now he feels as though he's the one being scrutinized. Being a childless and single individual in his 30s, he experiences immense internal distress and pressure. In certain regions, the expenses associated with marrying off a daughter are incredibly high. In my hometown of Jiangxi, for instance, the average dowry in rural areas has escalated to 360,000 yuan. And this doesn't even include cars or houses. A few years ago, a classmate was introduced to a girl from a neighboring village through relatives. Both were content with each other upon meeting, but when it came to the dowry, the girl's parents demanded 380,000 yuan. Based on local customs, they stated that if he could afford it, they would marry within the year. Otherwise, they would abandon the idea. A bank in Jiangsu introduced a dowry loan, offering loans of up to 300,000 yuan. However, one of the couple must be a permanent staff member in a government or public institution, highlighting their repayment ability. This underscores that even with a stable job, managing the skyrocketing dowries is challenging. China's gender imbalance, unveiling the complexities and consequences of surplus men. China stands as one of the countries with the most significant gender imbalances globally. The 7th National Census in 2021 revealed that mainland China had 51.2% male population and 48.8% female population, indicating an excess of about 34.9 million males over females. Within the marriageable age bracket of 20 to 40, there are 17.5 million more men than women. However, the reality is even more disconcerting. An unusual societal pattern has emerged in recent years, where more developed urban areas have an excess of single women, whereas less developed rural regions face an imbalance of single men. According to mainland media estimates, China might have tens of millions of leftover men and women, with more men than women. This imbalance has given rise to various societal challenges and significantly contributes to social instability. The surplus of men in China can be attributed to the strict one-child policy implemented in the 1980s. For decades, the Communist Party enforced a policy allowing couples to have only one child. Given the cultural preference for male heirs, many pregnancies were terminated if they were expected to result in a girl. China's changing marriage landscape, declining rates, rising divorces, and societal ramifications. Recent data from the Ministry of Civil Affairs reveals that in 2022, China recorded 68.3 million marriages, only half of the peak reached in 2013 with 134.7 million marriages. This marks the lowest marriage rate in 36 years. Notably, individuals aged 30 and above comprise 48% of these unions, an all-time high. While marriage rates have hit a record low, divorce rates are among the highest worldwide. China's divorce rate has been on a consistent rise since 2003, according to data released by the Ministry of Civil Affairs in Q1 2023. China had 2.1 million marriage registrations and 641,000 divorce registrations, accounting for nearly a third of the total number of marriages in China, in a society where traditional family values hold significant importance. The decision of children to remain unmarried or not have offspring can exert immense psychological pressure on their parents. Moreover, young men who lack harmonious marriages are more likely to display violent tendencies. Surveys conducted by various media outlets revealed that unmarried rural men, often referred to as leftover men, are more prone to engaging in criminal activities such as gambling, solicitation, and human trafficking. The gender disparity among marriageable individuals also contributes to increased extramarital affairs, third-party interference in relationships, more commercialized sexual transactions, and rising divorce rates. The higher concentration of single men in China's rural areas can be attributed to several factors, primarily stemming from economic disparities between rural and urban regions. Many marriageable women from rural areas migrate to larger cities in search of better economic opportunities, leaving behind a surplus of single men. The China Statistical Yearbook 2021 highlights the gender ratio in Chinese villages for various age groups. In the 20 to 24 and 25 to 29 age groups, the male-to-female ratios are 123.1 and 120.9 males per 100 females, respectively. For the 30-34 and 35 to 39 age groups, the ratios are 116.8 and 115.8, indicating more males in these rural areas. Dong Yuguo, the director of the Guangdong Population Development Research Institute, has pointed out that many rural women who move to cities for work do not return to their hometowns. Instead, they become permanent urban residents, and some even marry and have children in these cities. An analysis by the Guangdong Provincial Statistics Bureau suggests that in areas like Guizhou, the migratory population exhibits gender ratios that are below 1.9 for both the 20 to 24 and 25 to 29 age groups. This indicates that there are significantly more young female migrants than males, leading to a decline in the number of marriageable women in rural areas. The reluctance of young women to remain in rural areas is influenced by a deeply ingrained cultural preference for males over females in Chinese society. Traditional gender roles have often relegated women to lower status positions in rural settings, influencing their decisions to seek opportunities and lives in more developed urban areas. If so, why are young people not willing to get married? Before making in-depth research on the question, we find out the background of this issue. As the post-2000 and post-2010 generations reach adulthood, the low fertility level is expected to become even more pronounced, potentially leading to a sharp decline in the fertility rate. At present, there is no observable natural increase in China's population. A survey on changing attitudes towards marriage and parenthood among China's youth and the implications ahead. A survey conducted this year by a research institution in Guangdong province underscores these trends. It is said that only 11% of young women believe that getting married is a necessity, while over two-thirds consider marriage to be unnecessary. This sentiment is not limited to just one province. Indeed, in China's first- and second-tier cities, the choice of remaining single and childless has already exceeded 65% in 2021. In the four major cities of Beijing, Shanghai, Guangzhou, and Shenzhen, the percentage of unmarried, eligible individuals has even exceeded 75%, with Shenzhen leading at an astonishing 85.45%. The once inseparable elements of marriage and childbirth, which were once considered essential in life, are now quietly fading among China's youth. In 2017, China reached its peak in the number of marriages and newborns. However, in just 6 short years by 2022, these figures have sharply declined by 40% and 50%, respectively. The specter of negative population growth is looming over China. Meanwhile, the percentage of Chinese aged 65 and above has crossed 14% of the total population, steadily approaching the critical 20% threshold. With the decline in marriages and the younger population, China's economy seems to be on the verge of stagnation. Despite the Chinese government's efforts to encourage young people to marry and have more children, Chinese youth are still hesitant. In such a scenario, the Chinese Communist Party might resort to drastic measures. The future for the post-2000 and post-2010 generations could be challenging, and the next 3 to 5 generations of Chinese youth may end up as the greatest sacrifice of the communist authorities. So what are the reasons behind young people's reluctance to get married? In the bustling cities of China, a wave of young people is caught up in their daily commutes and work, deeply entrenched in the demanding 996 work culture. On weekends, they are more inclined to seek enjoyment and leisure with friends than to participate in tedious blind dates arranged by their parents. The search for a suitable partner seems like an endless journey. After decades of China's reform and opening up, the aspirations of the younger generation have diversified. Pursuits such as luxury cars, villas, overseas travel, 5-star hotels, designer handbags, and even cosmetic surgery have become their targets. This is particularly evident in the digital realms of major cities like Beijing and Shanghai. The elusive pursuit of prosperity. Struggles and aspirations of China's youth in a changing landscape. Specific group of well-educated, highly qualified and attractive young women, approximately 1 million or 10% of the female population in the same age bracket, follow the lives of the super-rich on various social media platforms, reveling in their extravagant wealth. For the remaining 90% of women, if they desire to attain wealth, marriage seems to be the only pathway. However, regular young men facing bleak career prospects find it challenging to meet the desires of women aspiring to a lavish lifestyle with homes and cars. As a result, these men choose a passive stance, essentially giving up on the idea of marriage. The current generation of youth in China is undeniably fatigued, burdened by the pressure to conform to societal norms. Having endured 16 years of rigorous education, they are disillusioned to discover that much of the knowledge they've acquired holds little value in practical society. This disappointment engenders a profound sense of defeat, with a significant portion, possibly around 30 to 40%, experiencing depression. Despite these challenges, they continue to nurture ambitions, aspiring to leave a mark on society. However, reality delivers harsher setbacks as they observe the opulence of the wealthy, the flourishing Fortune 500 companies, and the affluence of government officials' families. For these young people, apart from low-paying jobs, opportunities are scarce, prompting many university graduates to pursue master's or doctoral degrees in the hope of postponing their entry into a high-pressure society. Yet even those with advanced degrees find themselves confined to modest positions like urban management and neighborhood committees. Some undergraduates even confront the plight of unemployment and resort to freelancing. A post-millennial voice expressed on the Chinese forum, Xi'an, reflects a sentiment of reluctance towards parenthood. After enduring the stress of college and postgraduate entrance exams, this individual yearns for a tranquil life surrounded by pets, cultivating vegetables, and prioritizing well-being. They contemplate donating their earnings to those in need before their passing, emphasizing personal autonomy and a rejection of societal obligations. Since 2019, China's economic outlook has been far from optimistic, marked by a sharp decline in economic growth. Meanwhile, the workload for young people has become increasingly burdensome, while income dwindles progressively. Take, for example, one of China's directly administered municipalities, where the median average salary in Tinging stands at a mere 4,200 yuan per month, equivalent to $330 US. This figure is even lower for those under 25, hovering between 3,900 to 4,000 yuan. Given the high cost of living, such income levels fall significantly short, eliciting feelings of dissatisfaction among this generation of young individuals. In their eyes, there's a conspicuous absence of joy or contentment as they navigate a landscape characterized by ceaseless exertion and futile labor. Their gaze falls upon the allure of beautiful women, the privileged offspring of the affluent and powerful, akin to skyscrapers ascending after a spring rain, symbolizing prosperity. The offspring who find themselves yearning for a luxurious lifestyle that lies beyond their grasp experience profound heartache and distress. They secretly hope to be the last generation in this cycle. However, it's important to dig deeper and understand why they choose not to marry or have children, what motivates them to consider parenthood or reject it. The goals and motivations of the government's encouragement for procreation and those of individuals seeking to become parents are at odds. This contradiction highlights a fundamental issue within Chinese society, an intensifying conflict between the commodification of the public and the individual atomization of the population. This has contributed to the current low fertility rate. The notion of public commodification of the population suggests that every child born is perceived as a contribution to the Communist Party, while the atomization of society implies that each individual has personal aspirations and dreams. From the government standpoint, a larger population of children is believed to boost China's economy and enhance the overall quality of life. This idea has been propagated among the populace for quite some time. However, the actual situation is far from this idealized vision. Over the past few decades, China's birth rate has consistently declined, yet economic growth does not follow the same predictable pattern. In other words, the birth rate isn't the sole factor impacting China's economic performance, nor is it the primary one. A closer look at China's economic growth reveals that there are three significant growth spikes in per capita GDP: 1980, 1990, and 2000. These periods correlate with key political and policy changes rather than birth rates. Thus, it becomes clear that China's economic growth is more influenced by shifts in the political environment and adjustments to economic policies. Factors like labor force and currency play a secondary role. Understanding this, the Communist Party's encouragement for young people to have children seems to have ulterior motives. After enforcing the one-child policy for 35 years, the CCP observed a sudden drop in China's population. This not only rendered the country's economic development unsustainable, but also posed a potential threat to the political foundation of the party's rule. A spokesperson from China's Ministry of Foreign Affairs once asserted that the Chinese people are akin to a great wall of steel safe guarding the Communist Party. Following this logic, a thicker wall of people would enhance the party's governance and stability. This strategic perspective hinges on the idea that in case the Communist Party collapses and chaos ensues, a large refugee population could become a disaster for neighboring countries in the West. Therefore, the CCP uses the vast population as a bargaining chip, essentially holding over 1.4 billion Chinese people as hostages. From this standpoint, the population is not just a numerical figure, but an invaluable and limitless resource, surpassing even the value of natural resources like minerals, natural gas, and oil. China's massive population contributes to the world's largest genetic pool, encompassing human genetic data, stem cells, organs, and more. These resources have a myriad of applications, from scientific data collection to trade. In essence, the population stands as China's most precious asset, a foundation of the Communist Party's power and its source of strength. However, the dilemma arises from the significant societal changes that China has undergone over the past few decades. A notable shift is evident in household structures, with the average number of individuals per household dropping from 4.4 to a historical low of 2.6. Additionally, the rise of single-person households since 2004, surpassing 25% nationally and accounting for 125 million households in 2022, reflects a scattered and highly individualized society. This growing social alienation is manifest in diminishing participation in social activities, erosion of traditional values, and inadequate fulfillment of social obligations. China's birth rate dilemma. Balancing social change, government control, and population policy. The recent decline in China's birth rate further reflects this intensified social alienation. While ancient societies countered social alienation through religious beliefs and familial communities, Modern Western societies relied on extensive social organizations to bridge interpersonal relations and integrate individuals into the broader social fabric. In contrast, China's intermediary organizations were dismantled by the Chinese Communist Party decades ago due to political considerations. Consequently, the current Chinese government does not tolerate the presence of such intermediary organizations. This has given rise to a society characterized by a dichotomy between the government and individuals. The lying flat culture, opting for a minimalistic lifestyle, is a result of seeds planted by the CCP long ago. This also explains the growing reluctance among Chinese people to have children. This reluctance stems not from financial concerns, but rather from the changing dynamics after 4 decades of reform and opening up. As people become less obedient to the party, they prioritize their own interests over fulfilling societal expectations. Addressing this issue under a market economy could involve transforming China into a high-welfare, high-security society to make parenthood appealing to the younger generation. However, China's current fiscal policy primarily aims for national rejuvenation and unification with Taiwan. Heavy investments to boost the birth rate could jeopardize military and stability maintenance funds, destabilizing the central government system, an outcome the CCP cannot afford. The most feasible solution seems to be reverting to a pre-reform era with government control predominant and minimal market economy or privatization. In such a scenario, the government could encourage procreation without significant fiscal challenges. The situation can be succinctly captured in a saying: the government controls the heavens, the earth, and everything in between. At night, it even controls the reproductive organs of men and women. The ultimate solution to China's birth policy dilemma could involve intensified brainwashing to count childbirth, potentially accompanied by punitive measures for non-compliance. This paints a rather ominous future. And that is today's episode. If you found this video informative, please subscribe and ring a bell to get notification. Thank you for watching and see you next time.